You really should never do one of those, Eidos Montreal. Oh no! Given that all of the options were kinda bad, it does beg the question, why make a Deus Ex game at all, apart from brand recognition? Well, it might shock you, but the answer is brand recognition. Did you ever wonder why the next Prey was called Prey and not, I don't know, New Space Game, even though it's nothing like Prey? God, these names are confusing. It's because the money men at Bethesda or Eidos Square Enix aren't going to spend millions of dollars and years of dev time on an ambitious, risk-taking original idea unless it's got a vaguely bankable name.
We already had in mind the kind of game we were making, and then Bethesda said, hey, what about using this name?
Hey, why don't you call it Prey, guys? We killed the company that was making the original Prey 2, even though it was basically finished because they wouldn't let us buy them. That's a true story. Look it up. So now we have this name lying around. Prey 2017's great, don't get me wrong, and the devs had a lot of creative freedom with it, except for the name.
That game had to be Prey.
This is why, at least in the AAA gaming space, original big-budget games are surprisingly rare, but you can expect endless sequels, prequels, reboots, and remasters of popular existing properties until you're cold in your grave. What have you done? What does he look? Because when you're talking years of work and tens of millions of state-subsidized Canadian fun bucks, you need to provide at least some proof of a return on investment. And the best way to do that is to be called famous thing, more shit. Maybe none of this is true and the creators really wanted to specifically make the next Deus Ex game, but if that's the case, I think it was a poor choice. You see, now you have to design your game around dodging the complaints of losers who care about the Deus Ex timeline. Losers like me prepare to be destroyed. What I'm getting at is the story is trying to be unique and original, but also very self-conscious about looking like it definitely will lead into Deus Ex maybe someday. This approach damages both the game's ability to relate to the other games and its ability to tell the original story it clearly desperately wants to. Before you can even explore the story that is here, you have to excavate it from under a pile of distracting references to the original. For example, J.C. Denton's boss, Joseph Mandalay, is referenced like a dozen times throughout the plot, like he's a major player directly involved with the important stuff you're dealing with.
We've been compromised.
This Dance Star show will look beautiful.
But somebody got to the corpse before we did.
Like, this guy's so important, he's getting name-dropped in the pre-rendered cutscenes by bosses. What would an ordinary player think this is setting up?
You the home sec guy I was ordered to wait for? Tell Manderley I didn't get the memo until I was halfway through the autopsy.
Maybe the story that you're playing? Right?
Someone in the government, a man named Manderley, ordered that a specially appointed medical examiner perform the autopsy.
So you think, I get it, this guy's a big deal. Maybe we meet or even fight him later? No, they eventually just stop mentioning him. If you were trying to figure out what was up with Manderley or find him, you were wasting your time. This isn't part of the story. This was the game's attempt to tie itself into the series more. But they've gone about it in a way that makes the actual story you're trying to follow really annoying, because it's full of stuff you think you're supposed to pay attention to that turns out to be fan service and doesn't go anywhere. I'm sure they were trying